All right, so welcome back to Happy Hour with Heather and Guest. I'm joined by, is it Thomas or Tomas? I want to make sure
It's
I
Thomas. Yeah, Thomas.
Thomas from the band The
No
Sigil.
problem.
Um, I did do some research. I learned that a sigil is an inscribed or painted symbol considered to have magical power. And the band, I guess most of you are from Linköping, Sweden.
That is correct.
Okay, yes, I was proud of myself for learning the pronunciation because there's an umlaut, and typically we don't use umlauts in the United States. So
Yeah. No, it's a pretty specific thing for some Scandinavian countries.
right, right, absolutely. Um, and the band released the newest single is called "The Shape of Shadows," which is
Hmm.
has been available. It was released May 5th. It's available on all streaming platforms, I would imagine, Bandcamp. Um, So I guess my first question is, how would you describe the music to somebody who is interested in uh, finding something new, perhaps to listen to? What would you say they will get if they put on your single?
That is a very good question. How do you describe the music that you make? Is it melodic rock? Of course, we have that in there. It's quite melodious and rock focused music, but it's also, I don't know, drawing on some darker themes, some esoteric themes of the occult and the supreme leadership and who rules the rulers, etc. So there are many aspects that could go into that question, but I think the first thing that people would, get hooked at is that it's a melodic rock with an edge that comes from 70s, 80s hard rock, but it's not necessarily a 70s or 80s pastiche. So it's a rock song in its own right, made in the 2020s with a sound that draws on very many influences.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's I would. It was interesting to listen to it because I didn't really know necessarily what to expect going in. You sort of have assumptions about, okay, we have a band from Sweden who plays, what I would imagine would be heavy music about the occult or about esoteric themes. And you think it's going to be really heavy and distorted. Um, and then it turns out to be very melodic, I mean, still with a hard rock edge to it, but it was an interesting combination of light and dark elements.
Yeah, I understand, and it's not so strange that you would think that because our previous band, Throne of Heresy, was a pure death metal band with some black metal influences. Still quite melodic, but also a lot darker and heavier. So we kind of, after Throne of Heresy, sort of went downwards and went on a hiatus and eventually stopped existing. We just felt we had to move on to new avenues and find other ways of expressing ourselves because we were quite, you know, bogged down, or it took a lot of energy to quit that band that we had built for many years and focused on. So we had to like move in a different direction and try something else. So that's me and the lead guitarist, TG. We are from Throne of Heresy and played a lot of death and black metal in our days. So it's a shift for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, the new music with the sigil really doesn't have very many of the trademarks that you would find, but the intensity is still there. I think you're bringing something from the previous band into the new band, and definitely moving in a different direction. But um, it's not surprising to hear that there was, sort of a launch point of black metal influence and stuff like that. So okay, so the latest single, the Shape of Shadows. If you haven't listened to it yet, I would suggest you pause the interview right now if you're watching it when it's released and go listen to the Shape of Shadows. Um,
I
very
agree.
yes, Absolutely. Are you also working on new music as right now? As what are the plans for the band?
Yeah, we are indeed. We are indeed. We are constantly working on new music. It's like the expression that we have in us that we have to sort of get out. That we've been, me and TG, we've been playing together for 10 years now in Throne of Heresy and now the Sigil, and some projects in between there that never took off. But we've always had this force, that propels us to create music, and be it death metal or be it rock music, it doesn't really matter. We we uh, we are like always, almost always, I should say, in a creative mode, trying to find a venue or an avenue to sort of express ourselves. And so we do have new music, yes, and it's coming out in June 16th. We
Okay.
have an EP that would come out under the name of Argante, which is the name of the Silver Queen, who, in Monty Python, there's the lady in the water who gives out swords to bypassers. That is
Right.
Argante. She's the lady of
The
the
lake,
lake.
the Lady of the Lake. Yes. And of
Hmm.
course, one of my favorite lines is in the Holy Grail is when King Arthur says, "Well, the Lady of the Lake gave me Excalibur, so therefore I'm the king." And the peasant says, "Well, if a watery tart threw a scimitar at me, that doesn't make me emperor." Um, okay, well
Exactly.
that's really
That that
that's
that is not our stepping point, but some Monty Python references are always fun to
right.
throw in, right?
Well, it's what's wonderful that I've found is it's really great when bands can be funny and find humor and use irony. Um, typically you think heavy music is going to be really serious, but it's
Yeah,
it's it's much more complex than that. So,
of
okay,
course. I mean, there's comedy. There can be comedy in the dark themes as well. You can find humor and something fun to laugh at, even when it's like pitch black. So I think that's all a matter of perspective. We don't try to be funny. We don't try to apply the comedic sort of strain into the music of the Sigil. But in an interview when we talk about it and the fact that Argante is the Lady of the Lake, me being half British, I always connect to Monty Python stuff. So that's for me a natural point to sort of just you know find the similarities.
sure. Yeah, no, it's great. And for me, being a film buff, it's nice to be able to discuss those things. But yeah, okay, so June 16th, the EP will
Yeah,
be out.
yeah.
Um, so that's cool. I would imagine you're playing shows if you can.
Not at the moment, no. We did play a lot of shows with Throne of Heresy, and our other fellows in the band from acts such as Oblivious. They've also been touring live for years and are good live musicians. So we will get to that point. But at the moment, we're sort of building our musical catalog, and we're trying to find the expressions and rehearsing, and just we've been there's been two of us for a long time. It's just been me and TG, and we just added three more people to the band. So finding the pacing and just getting to know everyone in the band and being on the same page mentally, etc. So we're just taking it a bit slow for our own sakes mostly, but also to sort of, once we get out there and play live, we really want to deliver something that is worthwhile, and not
Sure,
just like a small club gig after two rehearsals where we barely can play the songs and everyone's out of tune and everything's like out of sync. That's not what we want to do. We want to build something, and once we go out, it's going to be spectacular. So,
great. Yeah, well, we have an expression in America called "getting in on the ground floor." I'm not sure if you've
mhm.
when you become a fan of something in its infancy, and you can track it as it grows. So it sounds like right now the Sigil, if you're interested in getting in on the ground floor with a band that's going to be, making wonderful music, then this is a perfect opportunity. If you're into melodic hard rock, then this is the band for you.
Yeah, I would say so. I think we've also, after everything we've been through, we're not like young kids playing music. We've been doing this for a long time, and once we started working on the Sigil, I think both me and TG found that this is something that we've had pent up in us for a long time, making this esoteric melodic rock with influences from everything else in our lives. We listen to a lot of different music. He has his taste and I have my taste, and just combining that and making something that is unique and special, and then getting our three new members in who bring their kind of skills and backgrounds into it. It makes for an interesting mix. So what I feel is that this is a project that we're going to be part of for a long time. It's not really a project. It's our main band now after years of, fiddling around, basically.
Gotcha. Okay, so I have to ask, what are some of your esoteric influences?
Well, it started out really when we worked with Throne of Heresy. We wrote songs, as you do in black metal and death metal, semi-satanic themes of the occult, Lovecraftian themes, some Aleister Crowley and the Thelema movement, etc. And kind of brought some of that. I wouldn't say we're occultists or religious in any way. We are dabbling in these things, but we do take an interest in the occult and the dark and the esoteric. And I find it very fascinating to consider the fact that there could be other forces in our world than those that we can see or witness with our senses. So that's what we bring in. But originally we started talking about the Sigil as a Nordic folklore kind of thing. So a few of the first tracks are more about like folklorish kind of entities or themes, and we will probably get back to that and weave it into the songs a little bit as we go along. But we felt we had to broaden that scope because otherwise we would run out of material very quickly. And you don't want to do the Manowar thing where you just rehash the same old theme over and over again. No disrespect to Joey DeMaio and the boys.
Right. Yeah.
But, you want to like deliver something else.
Sure. Well, it's good to keep your options open, and it sounds like there's a lot of ground for you to cover with the Sigil, which I'm looking forward to hearing the EP when it comes out next month. So that'll be great. Okay, so what's
yeah, for sure.
So you're in the process of writing. Well, you've got new music coming out. There's singles people can get. You're rehearsing so that you get tight as a group, so that when you do go live, you'll be ready. And if people want to find you, I know you're on social media. I think if they just look for the Sigil from Sweden, because there might be another band, I think, called the Sigil, perhaps. Who knows?
Yeah, we said our name many years ago, and then we didn't go public for a long time. And I think some other Sigil bands started shortly after and got a social media profile or whatever. But if you want to find us, we are the Sigil Band.
Okay,
on almost all social media platforms, we are the Sigil Band, except maybe on YouTube. But if you search for our track names on YouTube, you will find it. And I'm sure you can post a link in your description to the show, etc.
I will take care of it on my end. Well, that's great. Okay, so The Shape of Shadows is out. I know there's other singles people can listen to. The EP will be out June 16th. If you want to see the Sigil play live, you might have to wait a little bit until they're ready, but it'll be worth the wait because the music is that good. And I think you do have. It was interesting because I try to provide context for people. The band sound. If you're a fan of this band, you'll like the Sigil, or they sound like this other band. And I had trouble coming up with who you sounded like. So it's like it is a unique sound. What you're bringing. There's definitely an impression of melodic hard rock. That was obvious, but it didn't really sound like anything I had heard before necessarily. So well done.
Yeah, we do get that quite a lot actually. And it's I think a lot of it is in the songwriting that TG does. He writes stuff in a very special way, and I have a lot of music friends that have listened to it and said, "Why this isn't normally how you do stuff. This isn't something that other people do. So it has apparently some uniqueness. And we've been, of course, likened to bands, everything from like Roky Erickson to Judas Priest, the early Judas Priest, which is to me fascinating that someone hears a Judas Priest connection. I'm a huge Judas Priest fan, but that is not what we set out to do. So people find their own kind of connections with it, and I think that is good because it means we're neither Judas Priest nor Roky Erickson. We do, of course, get Ghost a lot because Ghost are also from Linköping, so the closeness of that connection is there. Though I don't think we are at all similar in many ways. Love Ghost and know some of the former members, and they're great guys and everything. But what we do is something more in line with like classic rock, I think, or 70s rock or hard rock. So we do get a lot of these comparisons all the time. And I think that sort of speaks to the music, that whatever you like, you can sort of find something that connects to the music we make, even if it's not necessarily like a direct translation. It's not like we're a carbon copy of this or that or this one or that one. And that was never what we set out to be. We just started writing new music to sort of try to find a path once we left the black and death metal scene with Throne of Heresy. And that was a thing that happened because there was some sort of post-traumatic stress, because the ending of Throne of Heresy was quite quick, and we weren't really prepared for it. But then we realized that it was kind of nice that it ended right there and then, because it became quite a heavy burden to work with that band, because it was technically intense and the live shows were intense. And we were very set on creating stuff in a specific way, and everything was super detailed, like down to the very, very bone. The lyrics, the riffs, every note, every drum beat, everything was like precision planned. And it turns out to be a very heavy way to write stuff. So you get kind of exhausted after a couple of years doing that. So once it ended and we felt like, okay, we need to take a step back and do something, then this is what came out. And it's never really been like we're going to do this, we're going to be a pastiche of this band, or we're going to copy these guys or anything. It's just what came out as a result.
Yeah, well, it's difficult to maintain something that's so complicated, technically difficult, or emotionally draining. And what's really nice about the new music is how accessible it is. Oftentimes, I used to have a previous show where I would have my mother on as a guest sometimes, and I'd play music for her. And she's a fan of Billy Joel. So if she liked a band, then they had to be really accessible to somebody who likes Billy Joel. So I feel like I could play her The Shape of Shadows and she would appreciate it and find things in the song that she would like, because it is, it's unique and it's hard rock, but it is also melodic. And I think she would appreciate a lot of the melodic elements to it. So well done.
Well, that's
well
awesome.
done is what
You should do it. Play it to your mother.
I will. I challenge accepted. I will, and I'll let you know. I'll let you know what you
let me know how it turns out, right?
Yeah, and if you want to,
awesome.
If you want to quote, if she likes it, and you want to quote her on the EP, feel free to do that. I'm sure she'd be thrilled. So
yeah.
All right. Well, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I really appreciate it, and good luck with everything.
No problem. Thank you for calling.
I'm excited for the new EP. The Shape of Shadows is out and it's available. You should definitely get it, and follow the Sigil band on social media. And I will probably post this. I'll probably post this later today, but I'll tag you on social media so you'll be able to see it.
Great.
Good luck.
Thank you so much. And
my pleasure.
Yeah, and take care and follow us everywhere. Yes. And we'll see you.
Take care.
Take care.
A good one.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
You too. Bye.